And sometimes you'd see the big ones, the ones nobody was ever going to hook, slipping away under the water like dark brown dreams. By the time I was in high school and got my first job and all the rest, including the whole awful story about Newt Hardbine, which I am about to tell you, he was of course not in school anymore. He was setting tobacco alongside his half-crippled daddy, and by that time had gotten a girl in trouble too, so he was married. It was Jolene Shanks, and everybody was a little surprised at her, or anyway pretended to be, but not at him. Nobody expected any better of a Hardbine. But I stayed in school. I wasn't the smartest or even particularly outstanding, but I was there and staying out of trouble, and I intended to finish. This isn't to say that I was unfamiliar with the back seat of a Chevrolet. I knew the scenery of Green Up Road, which we called Steam It Up Road, and I knew what a pecker looked like, and none of these sights had so far inspired me to get hog-tied to a future as a tobacco farmer's wife. Mama always said barefoot and pregnant wasn't my style. She knew. It was in this frame of mind that I made it to my last year of high school without event. Believe me, in those days, the girls were dropping by the wayside like seeds off a poppy seed bun, and you learned to look at every day as a prize. You'd made it that far. By senior year, there were maybe 2 boys to every one of us, and we believed it was our special reward when we got this particular science teacher by the name of Mr. Hughes Walter. Now, him. He came high-railing in there like some blonde Paul McCartney, sitting on the desk in his tight jeans and his clean shirt sleeves rolled up just so, with the cuffs turned in. He made our country boys look like the hand-me-down socks Mama brought home, all full of their darns and mends. Hughes Walter was no Kentucky boy. He was from out of state, from some city college up north, which was why, everyone presumed, his name was backwards. Not that I was moony over him, at least no more than the standard of the day, which was plain to see from the walls of the girls' bathroom. You could have painted a barn with all the lipstick that went into H.W. Enraptured Forever, and things of that kind. This isn't what I mean, but he changed my life, there's no doubt. He did this by getting me a job. I'd never done anything more interesting for a living than to help Mama with the for-pay ironing on Sundays and look after the brats of the people she cleaned for, or pick bugs off somebody's bean vines for a penny apiece. But this was a real job at the Pittman County Hospital, which was one of the most important and cleanest places for about 100 miles. Mr. Walter had a wife, Linda, whose existence was ignored by at least the female portion of the high school, but who was nevertheless alive and well, and was, in fact, one of the head nurses. She asked Hughes Walter if there was some kid in his classes that could do odd jobs down there after school and on Saturdays, and after graduation maybe it could work out to be a full-time thing. And he put the question to us just like that. Surely, you'd think he would have picked one of the candy stripers, town girls with money for the pink and white uniforms and prissing around the bedpans on Saturdays like it was the holiest substance on God's green earth they'd been trusted to carry. Surely you would think he'd pick Earl Wickentot, who could dissect an earthworm without fear. That's what I told Mama on the back porch. Mama, in her armhole apron, in the caned porch chair, and me on the step stool, the 2 of us shelling out peas into a newspaper. Earl Wickentot my hind foot, is what Mama said. Girl, I've seen you eat a worm whole when you were 5. He's no better than you are, and none of them candy stripers either. Still, I believed that's who he would choose, and I told her so. She went to the edge of the porch and shook a handful of pea hulls out of her apron onto the flower bed. It was marigolds and hot tamale cosmos. Both Mama and I went in for bright colors. It was a family trait. At school, it was a piece of cake to pick me out of a lineup of town girls in their beige or pink Bobby Brooks matching sweater and skirt outfits. Medgar Biddle, who was once my